So we're going to go to get that next guest up in the live literally right now. Go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that chat if you do want to join. Alexis, what's going on? Are you MAGA?
Yes. Hi.
Oh, hi. How old are you?
18.
FAU University. That's cool. Okay, yeah, I trust that you're 18.
Oh,
Tell
okay.
us, so why the hell are you MAGA?
I was kind of just born and raised in a MAGA household, and I voted for Donald Trump this year, and I kind of do believe in the Donald Trump.
Okay, all right. So why? Okay, because just saying that you were born and raised in it, that doesn't really give me much. I mean, sure, that tells me what the conditions have been for you to be socialized into the false beliefs, but like, why do you think Donald Trump is a good president? Can you name any specifics about him?
Yeah. So, I was just like hearing and reading and watching the news about and listening to my parents talk about, um, just the whole thing with illegal immigrants coming into our country. That
Yeah,
whole
yeah. I know
situation.
the boogeyman, undocumented immigrants. I mean, just terrible. I tell you. I mean, only like 2.5 times less likely to commit violent crimes. Super terrible. Only pay $300 billion into the GDP and pay $100 billion per year in taxes and strengthen American industries. So bad, terrible. Truly. Go ahead.
I don't think the immigration part is bad now. I just wish, I think of all people, I feel like Donald Trump could filter it out to where the illegal immigrants could be filtered out that are dangerous.
Oh, okay. So you just want less dangerous people in our country. Well, the way to get there is probably not to elect a dangerous man as president. He's been held civilly liable for rape. He's admitted to perving on naked teenagers while they're changing. He's hit on a 10-year-old girl. He sexualized his own child. And yesterday, I think that he demonstrated that his delusions make him dangerous. Yeah, I mean, shit. He literally like shared an article about how Biden was executed in 2020, then replaced with a robotic clone. Right? Like, I don't think that this incompetent Delulu fairy tale grapist fellow is, gonna do
How are
much
you
to.
going from immigrants to clones to.
Well, I'm just simply pointing
Your
out that
conversation was just.
if you want less dangerous people in America, you shouldn't have elected the delusional, dangerous person to get it done.
Well, I also just don't like the push of, I guess what that last guy said, kind of, but not really. Just like the whole left side kind of just pushes this, like, oh, we need men in our bathrooms. They need to be able to feel included in the women bathrooms if they're trans. Like,
Okay, all right. Well, hey, listen, I think trans women are women, and I think that it is actually a pretty common sense view to say that trans women should be able to use a women's restroom. Could I tell you why?
why?
Because I think it makes all women, cis and trans, safer. Because imagine this. Do you know, like, so trans men are biological females, right? So if you were to say that we should segregate the restrooms on the basis of sex, this means that trans men, under your view, should be using the women's restroom. However, the effect that testosterone has on anybody is insane, right? So you look at a trans man that's undergone HRT, they could look identical to or even significantly more masculine than cis men. And when you say that trans men should be using women's spaces, going into women's restroom merely because they're female, you're just opening up the door as wide as possible to say that any cis man can lie, call themselves a trans man, and take advantage of cis women in the space. So, I mean, I just think that women are safer if we segregate the restrooms on the basis of gender identity, excluding trans men, than segregating the restrooms on the basis of sex, including trans men.
I just think my whole point is why should we allow. Because I agree. If you say you're a trans woman, you're a woman, okay? Trans men, like, if whatever you want to be, like, fine, that's fine. I just think, what's the point of letting the restroom situation collide,
I just told you because
sports
it
collide?
makes women safer, like in the restrooms. Like I think
And
like
how does it make
like
women safer when men lie that they're trans and then they go and they rape the women inside of the bathroom?
So yeah, basically, if you say that trans men should be able to use this space, you are allowing more masculine presenting individuals to enter into the space because trans men are more masculine presenting on average compared to trans women. So it's easier for a cis man to lie and say that they're a trans man compared to a cis man lying and saying that they're a trans woman. So you're basically gonna have a door that is wider open and makes it easier for cis men to lie and take advantage of women in the space if you segregate it on the basis of sex compared to gender identity.
Okay.
Right? Like seriously, I actually do think that the view that trans women should use a women's restroom is something that I believe full-heartedly, and is in the best interests of all women, including cis women. You know, it's a reality that trans women exist regardless of you like it or not. It's a reality that trans men exist regardless of you like it or not. It's a reality that trans men can be identical or more masculine presenting than cis men. Okay, and it's a reality that trans men are more masculine presenting on average than trans women, meaning that if you segregate the restrooms on the basis of sex, it's a reality that you're only allowing more masculine presenting individuals to enter into the space. Okay, and that's a reality that I don't like. I think that's a reality that puts women in more harm's way, and I think that we could reduce the likelihood of harm caused towards women by shitty cis men in the women's restroom by segregating the restrooms on the basis of gender identity.
So is this the same with men, biological men that are trans women going into women's sports?
Now you want to pivot to sports. So you didn't give me a counter argument against trans women using the women's restroom there. You just simply moved
I
on.
did. I told you that trans women, fine, they whatever, like they're trans women, but I don't think they should be welcomed into the women's restroom because of the one. I don't have children, but if I did have children, I would be scared a man would lie and
Yeah.
go into the bathroom.
So I've responded to this twice. In fact, the first time I
That's
responded
what
to
was
this.
my counter argument in the first place.
So
That
my
was
argument
whole-
actually accounted for this. Can you repeat my argument? So you can't.
You
can't-
said
you can't repeat
that
my
women
argument.
would feel safer and the trans women would feel safer by going into the women's bathroom. How can you prove that? Like,
You can't repeat my argument. How about
I
this? I
literally
have a better
just
idea.
did.
I have a better idea, Alexis. What percentage of the population is trans?
I don't know. Please tell me.
0.1%. So please tell me why the reason why you support the fascist, lunatic, adjudicated rapist felon that himself has perved on. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's go there first. If a cis man did do this, walked into a women's restroom or changing room, and took advantage of women in the space, or at least like perved on naked women or teenagers in that space, you think that's really bad and morally reprehensible, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think the consequences should be if a man were to do that?
To go into a woman's bathroom and lie.
Yeah, or like a woman's changing room and like perv on them while they were naked. Like, what do you think the consequences should be for a man that does that?
Jail.
How much?
We're
We're starting the live on YouTube, by the way, guys.
What?
Hi, welcome in for everybody tuning in on the YouTube stream. It's so good to have you in here with us today. We are already in the middle of our first debate with the first Trump supporter of the day. Their name is Alexis. I'm going to go ahead and catch you guys up to speed. Then we're going to roll the clip if you know what I mean. So Alexis is having a conversation with us about how she would feel if a man were to walk into a woman's or teenage girl's changing room to perv on them while they're naked and what the consequences should be. So just to clarify, I mean, how long do you think, because you said that a man, if they were to perv on changing naked teenagers without their consent, they should go to jail. How long do you think they should go to jail for?
Pretty long time.
Pretty long time, okay. So I have a question. So what if a man did this and he got away with it and then he ran for a public office? Like maybe he wanted to be a congressman, a senator, or even like the president. Would you ever vote for them?
I can see where you're pulling this conversation.
Well, I'm just asking you if a man ever did this. I mean, walked into the changing room of naked teenagers, talked about how good they looked, and boasted about how no men were in there and how they could get away with it. Would you ever vote for them if they turned around and ran for a public office?
So, on this thing about Donald Trump being an alleged.
Oh, Donald Trump hasn't done this. He's a good man. He would never do this. This is purely hypothetical.
Well, you said this in your last thing with that.
You probably misheard me.
Okay.
Right. So if somebody did do this and ran for a public office, would you ever vote for them? Would you ever support them?
No.
No. Okay. Under any conditions ever?
I mean, if it was proved and true.
Yeah. Even if it was Trump.
I can already hear what you're telling me, but I heard about this, but I don't know if it's confirmed. I just feel like Biden has done so much more.
To think about the conflict a little bit later on.
The question is, how can it not be construed?
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with the vagina. And,
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that?
So you have done that. Now, tell
Well,
me
I'll
what-
tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting.
Right,
I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
My prediction is that you'll walk back on the claim that you made 45 seconds ago, and you'll find some way to still justify supporting Trump, even though he just admitted to doing something that you said if he did do, you would stop supporting him. What are your thoughts?
How is that? What does that prove?
That proves that he walked into the changing rooms of teens and women where there's no men around while they were naked without any clothes on, getting dressed, and he would look at them and see how good they look, and he could get away with it since he owned the pageant.
So, like, what'd you say, Ellie? I just feel like this isn't like how these are just words that he's saying. Like,
Yeah,
how is
so they
this
were
proven
words
that this actually happened?
because he
Like,
said he did it.
because he said he did it, like
Yeah.
allegedly. Like,
Okay,
just
so he said that he did it. It's not. I want to clarify. It's not allegedly. He admitted to it. I mean, like, there's this one quote from Trump where he says he could walk up and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and his supporters would still support him. And I mean, I think that you're kind of proving that right now. He stared you in the face. He said, "My name is Donald Trump, and I have perved on naked teenagers in their dressing rooms, and I got away with it." And guess what? You're still letting him get away with it right now, okay? That last sentence he said in that clip is, "And I could get away with things like that." He sure as hell can if people like you exist. If people like you can listen to him say that he's done these things and listen to him say that he could get away with doing these things and then still let him get away with it by saying that it's not confirmed. Dude, oh my gosh, man. I can't believe it. Lariasa, thank you for the galaxy.
So you're telling me that all the other political machines, not Trump, because we already talked about Trump, obviously you think Trump is crazy. They're not. Joe Biden isn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, how about we talk about like the candidate that he ran against that could have been our president right now if you decided to vote for the better person. Kamala Harris has never done this. That's right. I mean, yeah, for sure. Could you please go ahead and tell me how this is something Kamala Harris has done? I'd love to hear you out. I got open ears. Okay. I would love for you to do a comparative analysis on Donald Trump and Kamala Harris and demonstrate to us how Kamala Harris is worse than the adjudicated rapist that admitted to perving on naked teenagers.
Wasn't Kamala Harris on the Diddy list?
No.
Can you pull that up for me?
So I don't have to prove your claim false. You'd actually have to prove your claim true.
Right.
But if she was on the Diddy list, she'd be in court right now. Right. So you're kind of talking out of your ass.
Kamala's team has spent more than $5 billion having images of her with Sean P. Diddy combs bleached from the internet. It would be such a shame if this made the rounds.
Okay, well, I'm not willing to believe that they spent $5 billion to remove pictures on the internet. You could do that for a couple hundred. And if they did do that, I'd support it. Isn't that a good thing? If she was loosely
Being on the
associated
Diddy
with
list
him.
is a good thing?
Would you allow me to finish speaking?
Sorry.
If she did know Diddy before Diddy became a bad person and didn't know that Diddy was a bad person or would become a bad person, and there was a handful of pictures of them two together, it's probably like a good thing to try to remove all the pictures of you with them, so then it doesn't promote the message that Diddy is somehow a good person. But I mean, I've never seen a picture of the two together. But you know what? You know what Donald Trump has to say about Diddy?
What?
Have you never heard about how Donald Trump and Diddy used to be real good friends back in the day? You've never heard about that?
No, please tell me.
No, I mean, shit. Even like 2 days ago, he said that he'd consider pardoning him. You said you didn't hear that one?
No.
No. Let's see here. Well, I'm struggling to find the clip off of The Apprentice where Donald Trump is like, "I like Diddy. He's a good friend of mine. Diddy's a good guy. Diddy's a good friend of mine." Because now all the clips that are showing up are of him like talking 2 days ago about pardoning him. So yeah, Donald Trump was a good friend of Diddy.
Right.
Right. Can you tell us the worst thing that? Oh, wait, here it is. Did I find it? Here it. Yep, I found it. Here it is.
Strict and focused businesswoman because working for Diddy for 6 years trained me to have to be perfect.
Working for Diddy.
Absolutely.
I love Diddy.
That one's never been wider. I love Diddy.
You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy.
He expects.
Is he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that
Oh,
question.
well, I think he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up for him.
Strict.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Shut up, Zach. How do you feel about that, Alexis? Oh my God, it's like even worse because he's like debating like a woman on it. The woman's like, I'm not gonna tell you that I think that I'm not gonna answer that. I'm not gonna tell you I think that he's a good. And then he's like, oh, well, I love Diddy. I love him. I think that he's great. I think he's a great guy. You know, I just love Diddy so much. Yeah. Maybe Donald Trump should have spent some money wiping that off of the internet because I mean, that's brutal.
Okay.
You said, Alexis, you sound defeated. Have I been too hard on you?
No, sometimes I just feel like Donald Trump isn't all that serious.
Oh, yeah, he was memeing, he was joking. False alarm, everybody. False alarm, guys. When Donald Trump says something that's just, like, absolutely indefensible, don't worry, he's just trolling the liberals. Wow, what a cope.
But I mean, like, there's a reason he won the election, right? Because he's a good president, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
leading us back into what
So,
Biden put us in, right?
Oh,
What
wait,
about-
you thought that
what about-
Biden was a good, you thought that Biden was a good president too, right?
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, but
Yeah.
isn't there also a reason he won the 2020 election?
Yeah, that's a whole conspiracy, though, and I don't want to get into that.
Oh, okay, so, yeah.
Biden
Okay.
kind of ruined everything.
Okay, well, Biden ruined everything. Sure. What's one thing he ruined?
I don't think that's right, Ellie. The whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Dangerous
Dangerous is a word. So what's one thing Biden ruined?
What?
What's one thing? So you told us that Biden ruined like everything. What's one thing that he ruined?
Inflation.
Oh, Biden caused inflation. Now, why would you think this? Because there was a lot of inflation under his presidency?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, as soon as Biden gets into office, everything just starts going downhill in our country.
Oh,
And
that's
the
actually...
prices and just every...
Right. Well, we can't
Right.
say just because something happens in the country that the president caused it. We can't say that. I feel like that's unfair. Like, how unfair would it be for me to blame the highest level of unemployment in the last 100 years on Trump just because it happened under his term in April of 2020?
How many jobs did Trump say he created and opened for people?
Well, I mean, actually, if we want to do the whole baseless association, blame whatever happens in the country and the president thing, there was a total net loss in jobs under his first term. I guess that's Trump's fault too, if you think about it, according to your logic. See how I could do the same thing that you're doing? Just, oh, inflation happened in America, Biden was president, must have been his fault. Let's look at what happened in America while Trump was president. COVID happened, must have been his fault. Net loss in jobs happened, must have been his fault. Highest level of unemployment since the Great Depression, 14.8% April of 2020, must have been Trump's fault. See how that's super unfair logic to use? Now, the next question that you may ask is, well, Dean, if that's unfair logic, if that's bad reasoning, what is good reasoning? Well, if you want to blame something that happened in America on the president, you got to describe how, right? So maybe like when I blame the fact that we had negative GDP growth in the first quarter of this year on Trump, okay, I describe how by simply pointing out that his tariffs caused a massive surge in imports, meaning that companies were spending less money in the American markets, and his tariffs decreased consumer confidence, meaning that consumers were spending less money in American markets, so the GDP went down. Now, I'll ask you to do the same thing for Biden, and as it relates to inflation, like what did Biden do to cause that inflation?
Just speaking on Biden in general, since we're on the topic of Biden now, What happened with all that tax-paying money that we had? That Biden, what was it? He didn't. It was just wasn't used properly, and it was all wasted.
Oh, he wasted a bunch of taxpayers' dollars. Okay, how much did he spend under his 4 years? Non-COVID related debt signed into law. How much did he spend?
Do you know?
I do, $2.2 trillion. If you ask me what my source is, I'll tell you it's the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, the CRFB. $2.2 trillion. That is the total amount of every dollar spent related to the American debt by Biden in 4 years, not related to the pandemic. Now, are you ready for a zinger?
Yep.
How long has Trump been in office? Little over 100 days. And what is his one semi-accomplishment so far? Getting the big, beautiful bill passed through the House. If that big, beautiful bill passes through the Senate, you want to know how much new debt-related spending is going to be signed into law?
What?
$3.8 trillion. Wow. Trump is going to spend more money with one bill than every penny spent by Biden in the last 4 years. So if we want to talk about wasteful spending, I'm not so sure that Biden should be your number one enemy here.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's going to better cause because I know a lot of the taxpayer money
It's
was going towards like
better cause. Okay.
Yeah, there was there was a few things that taxpayer dollars were going to, similar to like there was money going into why there's holes in cheese. There's a whole thing of taxpayer money going into that. That is a useless
Based?
study, in my opinion. You said what?
Based? I want to know why there's holes in cheese.
Do you want to pay for it with your tax money?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been quiet the whole time. But
No, I think that we need to pay more. We need to figure out why there's holes in cheese.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic.
Well, how much did that cost?
I don't remember, but I do know.
Come on, like what, a couple
every
million? Listen, a couple million?
Every penny counts is the thing. I know another thing was-
Every penny does count. And if our government's spending a couple $1 million on trying to determine why there's holes in cheese, okay, like what the fuck? Get rid of it. Okay? Like,
Okay.
yeah, I can agree
Here's-
that's weird. Now listen. though.
Yeah, okay, so we
No,
agree on that.
No. I need you to listen to me without interrupting me. So,
yeah,
yeah,
I got you.
we could agree that if there's a couple million spent on trying to determine why there's holes in cheese, like what the fuck? Get rid of it. But I think you also need to keep in mind that Donald Trump spent $144 million on golfing at Mar-a-Lago in his first 4 years. More
yeah,
than
and I'm not
no,
defending
I'm
that.
not done yet. Please don't interrupt me.
sorry.
Spending more than trying to determine why there's holes in cheese. And then guess what? 3.8 trillion is significantly more than a handful of million. And I would say that we would almost be better to spend this $3.8 trillion on trying to figure out why there's holes in cheese than on the big, beautiful bill, because at least spending it on figuring out why there's holes in cheese won't cut $1.2 trillion from Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security over the next 10 years. Okay? If we spent the $3.8 trillion on figuring out why there's holes in cheese, well, that wouldn't reduce the after-tax income for 80% of income earners in America, like the big, beautiful bill will, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Right? So honestly, I'd actually argue that every dollar spent on trying to figure out why there's holes in cheese is better spent than every dollar that will be spent on the big, beautiful bill.
So with that logic, our taxpayer money should be going to completely stupid researches because it's better than spending more money on a bill that is arguably more important than holes on cheese. So you'd want to send
Wait,
a lot of money.
how could
to
you say
stupid
how could
researches.
you say that decreasing your after-tax income and spending $3.8 trillion to do it is a better cause than further researching holes in cheese?
Well, because it's going to every American. You see, I'm
It's
helping better the
taking it
country.
away
Let
from
me
every
finish.
American.
I'll let you finish. Let me finish. It's helping better the country because different races and genders, but we're all American. You
Dude,
see?
I don't know if you
with
just
the
didn't listen
money
to what I
that
said.
is-
Does it make the country better or does it make the country worse when we take money away from 80% of Americans?
I see where you're coming from.
Because keep in mind, my claim is that the big beautiful bill reduces the after-tax income for 80% of Americans, and just does it disproportionately. So the less money you make, the lower your after-tax income will be. My source is the Center on Policy and Budget Priorities. Right? 80%
Yes.
of Americans will have a lower after-tax income because of the big beautiful bill, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities.
Yes.
So that's a bad thing, right?
Kinda. I still don't. I
Kinda?
also don't like.
What the hell? This is like the worst economic policy ever proposed to Congress. They want to
So
spend almost $4 trillion to make you make
okay.
less. How is that a good idea?
Okay.
How's
Well,
that kind of
another.
a wait? Okay, so you said that's kind of a bad idea. So this means that you think there's some upsides to it. Give me one upside of spending $4 trillion to make you make less.
Well, so I can't think of one. So you did beat me on that point.
So
I will give that to
it's
you.
just terrible. It's bad. It's
not
fucking
terrible.
Why wouldn't you say that's terrible? Name an economic policy that's worse. Seriously, that's ever passed in this country. Name a worse economic policy that's ever passed than spending $4 trillion to make you make less.
This wasn't an economic policy, but
The
this
Big
was.
Beautiful Bill is definitely an
I'm
economic
not talking
policy.
about that right now. I'm talking about.
Well, I
under the
am.
Biden
You're telling
under-
me that it's not terrible.
I'm
Name a
giving
worse
you a
economic
parallel
policy.
right now. I'm giving you a parallel.
Sure.
Under the Biden administration, there was 4 million Social Security card numbers given out to illegal immigrants. That is horrible for economics. When you have illegal immigrants
who?
coming in here and getting not 401ks, Social Security.
Who is giving them
numbers.
the Social Security numbers?
I cannot remember. It was a Doge report. You can fact check me on that. It was a report.
So was our government giving them Social Security numbers?
Yes, it was the Biden administration.
Okay.
The 4 years that Biden was in
For
office,
sure.
there was.
For sure. What's your evidence?
Look it up right now.
Well,
You can fact check me.
We do hold to MLA citation standards on this live. I don't expect anything more out of you that your 11th grade English teacher would have. I just simply ask you for the publisher, a title of an article. You give me the source. I could fact check you as soon as you give it to me. That works. Okay, well, it looks like he's maybe on pause finding that source. So it's back to you, Alexis.
Hey.
Hi. So do you have any more reasons to like Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay. Just another thing. I just really appreciate his military assistance when it comes to just like soldiers or like people who are trapped in other countries, whereas Biden did not. Like, what was it? The embargo? Yeah.
What?
That-
What are you saying? I don't know what you're saying. Does anybody know what she's saying? Because I don't. Do you know what she's saying, Zach? Because I don't know what she's saying. Do you, Zach?
I would not like to comment.
It doesn't seem like Zach knows what you're saying either. Would you like to try to repeat that?
Joe Biden withheld sending weapons to Israel. I think
He did.
Oh wait, I know. I think I know what she's trying to say.
So he did place. He did at the end of his presidency. They did place a weapons embargo in Israel. And you know what my thoughts on that are?
what?
It was too damn late. Should have been done a whole lot sooner. I have a question. How many arrest warrants does the ICJ, the International Crimes Court, Crimes and Justice Court, have out for the arrests of the leader of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu?
What?
2. They have 2 out. He's a war criminal. He's killed like 54,000 innocent Palestinian men, women, and babies and children. And I mean, that doesn't include like the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians that have been ethnically cleansed. They're forced to relocate because their homes have been turned into rubble. I mean, why would we want to give them more weapons?
Right.
Right, you know, common sense type shit. Oh my god! Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my, dude! Oh my shit, dude! I'm so sorry. I gotta thank somebody real quick. Christian with the $1,000 donation over on PayPal. Holy fuck! What the fuck? Yo, bro, dude, if you put an extra 0 there, man, I'm not gonna play. If you put like 2 extra zeros there, just let me know. I can send that back. That is good googly moogly. That is way too much damn money. Oh my god. If you're watching this stream right now, can you please show some love Mr. Christian in the live comment sections of the stream. I can't. I do not deserve that. I sure as hell do not deserve that, Christian. That is, I mean, I seriously, I do these lives for 4 hours a day. I like that. That has to be one of the first. Oh my dude, Christian. Okay, well, let's read off his message. Christian says, after you ended your stream yesterday, I found a bunch of videos of you supporting gay rights with both scientific and empathetic language. As the world is getting much scarier, it felt incredibly soothing and amazing to hear a straight guy supporting gay rights in that way. This represents the appreciation for those videos. Thank you. Christian, we love you here. That is by far one of the craziest donations I've ever received. I want everybody to show some love to Christian in the live chats while we hop into these debates. I mean, like, I'm about to refocus Alexis and Zach here, but just continue to fucking spam W Christians down below in those chats. Thank you so much, man. But anyways, Zach and Alexis, take it away. Thank you, Christian.
So I do have one question, because this is the kind of thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I have my stance on it, and I'm kind of curious on like your complete stance on it, because I don't know if I'm in the right on it, you know, and it's the immigration policy with the illegal immigrants, because I am for legal immigration. I think that betters every country. But I'm just curious on, do you support illegal immigrants coming into America?
No,
And
so I actually don't support undocumented immigration into America. And it's because I don't support undocumented immigration into America that I think we need to completely rebolster immigration systems and reform them and almost like flip them on their head. And what I mean by that is I think that we should have as many legal ports of entry into America as possible that allow as many individuals to legally migrate into America as possible, only screening out individuals for prior violent offenses. So if we do that, then we will naturally remove all incentive for undocumented entry into this country. The ultimate cause of undocumented immigration is going to be an unattainability of legal means of entry, meaning that they take too long, they're too expensive, and they're too slow. So if we completely remove that incentive by making legal entry incredibly easy and incredibly efficient and incredibly attainable, then we will see no undocumented entry into America.
so would you say you are for background checking immigrants coming into the country, correct?
Yeah, for sure. And I actually want to
Okay.
ask you a question
So
about that. So if we did a background check of a legal immigrant coming in, and we figured out that they'd been held civilly liable for raping a woman, do you think that they should be allowed to come into our? Do you think that they should be legally allowed to come into America?
no, I think
No.
it should.
They should be
I think we
turned
should have a
around.
zero tolerance on that,
Okay.
personally.
Do you think it should be harder to become a citizen or to become a president?
So, that's a good question. My thing, I think it is technically harder to become a president because of
Do you agree with that? Like, do you think that like every citizen is qualified to be the president, or there's like additional
every
qualifications? on top of that?
American-born citizen is. I think every
What?
American-born citizen
Wait.
without.
So you're on TikTok. Do you know who Josh Block is?
I do not. I'm not on
Okay.
TikTok
Do,
much.
do you know who Daniel Larson is?
I think I've heard the name a few times.
No. Okay. What about like? Okay. Do you think that you're qualified to run the country right now?
Not right now. No, I have to go through. I think that the reason we have the age
Do you think that every 35-year-old American is qualified to be president?
No, that's why we have the election. I mean,
right. Like
whenever we have the election-
so obviously, like you think it should be harder to become president than it is to become a citizen, right?
it already is harder.
But you
I
agree with
think.
that? I'm not asking you what is the case. I'm asking if you agree with it.
Oh yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay, so if it should be harder
with the
to
knowledge
become,
I have of it, yes.
if it should be harder to become the president than to become a citizen, and you think that you shouldn't be able to become a citizen if you're held civilly liable for raping a woman, this would also imply that you don't think you should be able to become president if you're civilly liable for raping a woman, right?
Are you talking about Trump's do I have to say grape because of guidelines?
Donald Trump wasn't. No, Donald Trump's a good man. We're not talking about him. I'm just saying, like, theoretically, hypothetically, you said that if you're held civilly liable for raping a woman, you shouldn't be able to become a citizen. So it would like be logically implied there that if you're held civilly liable for raping a woman, you shouldn't be able to become a president either, right?
Yes, I can agree with that.
Okay, well,
Just
I lied.
stop,
So
Zach.
Donald Trump has been held civilly liable for.
It was actually a fake
raping
report. The
woman.
woman that claimed that he raped her, or raped myself, I'm sorry. Actually, she could not date the year, the day, the month All she could remember that was it. It was in a closet I think it was a penny store. It could have been somewhere else, but she could not even date the year it happened. Okay, but she claims he raped him.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, everything that you just said was wrong. So first you said that she couldn't date the year it happened. That's not true. 1996. Then you said that it happened in a closet. That's not true. It happened in a changing room. And then you said it was at a penny store. No, it was at a designer retail store. So
Yeah,
nearly
I knew it was at a
everything
retail store.
that you just said was wrong.
Or actually, no, it was on later.
Can
It was
we
later
agree
interviews that she was able to claim that. After it, when she first claimed it happened, she couldn't give the details. I think it was a documentary on Netflix that came out.
Also
It was
wrong.
whenever she started to actually give out the details.
That's also wrong. She wrote
No.
about it in a book in 2019, not a Netflix
2019.
documentary.
You just proved my point. In later interviews and documentation of her trying to document it. It was
So
not
she
until
started
2019.
talking about it. Yeah, she didn't.
And she also didn't talk about it until he started running for president. Make that make sense.
She ran for president in 2015.
Exactly.
She
It was
came out
after his
about it in
presidency.
2019.
It was whenever he switched from, because he was a Democrat when he was just a celebrity. He was, because I can't remember which president he was very good friends with, if it wasn't president, but he was on the Democratic side. It was not until he switched to the Republican side that, oh my gosh, we have all of these rape cases coming out.
So do you know when he left the Democratic Party?
I do not know the exact date.
2001. He ran as an independent candidate for president in 2001. So you're saying that it wasn't until he left the Democratic Party that people started shitting on. Dude, he left the Democratic Party in 2001.
When did he join the Republican Party?
I don't know when he joined the Republican Party, but it's not relevant
exactly,
because he left the
because it was
Democratic
not
Party in
until he switched
2001.
Democrat, it's until he switched sides.
So
to,
I just want to clarify. So you're saying that basically she was a liar and she lied about this because you became a Republican?
Yes, and if
Okay,
it did happen, why is she not pressed charges?
So let me ask you.
If it actually happened, where's the charges that she is pressed?
So she actually held him liable for raping her in a court of law.
Then why is he not in jail? If it actually happened, why is it not in jail?
Okay, so you obviously know nothing about our criminal justice system. I'll educate you because I'm a nice guy. So when you're held liable for something, that means that charges, quote unquote, were pursued in a civil court of law. Civil courts do not determine criminal responsibility, i.e., they don't send people to jail. They determine financial responsibility, i.e., he owes her $70 million. So when you ask the question, why is he not in jail if she took him to court? Well, she took him to civil court because there's a statute of limitations in which had passed, meaning that in the state of New York, she was ineligible to bring him to criminal court. Now, I want to point out here that you said that it couldn't be true because she waited so many years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, 60% of rape victims never report the instance to the authority in their lifetime. So why are you victim blaming a woman that waited 23 years?
So, number one, I do have one thing to add. I do think a lot of the rape accusations that go on, I think that I'm not saying all of them are false because I think that it is a
Can we
huge problem
clear
in
up your
America.
language? It's not an accusation, it's a proven claim.
Oh my goodness. Well, I do think that. Oh, we lost Alexis. I do think it is a huge problem in America involving the rape things. I think it's a horrible, horrible problem. But involving her only wanting money out of him, I would have a theory. This is not.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
my
So
thing
the
is,
theory is because she took him to civil court and she got money. That means that she was lying and only in it for the money.
yes. So why would
at
she?
the
Why would
same-
she want the person that raped her to be able to run the country?
Could you please
Okay.
allow me to finish speaking here?
You didn't allow me to, but I will let you.
Well, I mean, you don't really seem to care too much about consent. So, I mean, I guess I don't have too much of a qualm.
Hold
with
on, hold on.
interrupting
Excuse me?
you. You don't seem to
Excuse
care
me?
too much about consent.
No, I do think that rape is a horrible thing, and I actually have a friend that was raped, and the amount of mental trauma that comes with that is horrible. It is an awful thing to happen. I can agree with you.
Well,
Rape
then you
is-
shouldn't be baselessly victim blaming a woman that got raped, was able to prove her rapist guilty with a unanimous 9-0 decision in court, and then deny it with no reason. Like, I'll show you that you're a victim blamer with no real reason to deny the claim that Donald Trump raped Eugene Carroll. So can we agree, like, regardless of like what her motivations were in falsely accusing Donald Trump, if she was falsely accusing Donald Trump, all that this would mean is that unanimous 9-0 jury that ruled he was guilty guilty without enough evidence, right?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
Right. So, in other words, the only way you could really know that he was innocent and she was falsely accusing him is if you examine the evidence that she submitted to the court and determined if it was sufficient or insufficient. So, I'm guessing since you're coming out of the gate swinging with such harsh, compelling, and confident claims of his innocence, you've obviously read the evidence in the court documents that the jury used to determine his guilt. So, can you name one piece of evidence that she submitted to the jury that they then used to hold Trump liable?
No, could you? Because I'm at the moment reconsidering what I said earlier.
Right, exactly. You can't name a piece of evidence, right? And
No,
that's the
I'm
issue.
asking. Could you tell me?
For sure, we
I'm
could,
not.
we could
Yeah,
go
okay.
over the evidence together. And in fact, even after I go over the evidence with you, I just direct you to the court documents because
Okay.
those
Yeah.
93 pages will be able to describe it better than I ever could, right? But
Mhm.
I just want it to be very clear that unless you are rejecting and critiquing the evidence that was set forth in that civil court that the jury used to hold him liable, you're
Yeah.
just victim blaming her. Like when you say things like, "Oh, well, I just know that she was falsely accusing him without looking at the evidence because she waited 23 years." That's victim blaming her. Okay, it's
Could you
very
define victim
plausible
blaming?
that she could have
'Cause I-
waited 20. But you're basically saying that it's her fault and that she's a liar, that she's a bad person, not the
Oh
rapist.
no. I don't think it's her fault for the whole thing happening. I will say though, listening to a bunch of things that a bunch of people have said about it, I could name one. You're not gonna like him, but Charlie Kirk. I know that you and him have like a. I want to see the debate personally, but I did hear him talk a lot about it, and he did give some sources that I have to look back at too. I didn't know I was debating you. I woke up. Not long ago.
Charlie Kirk gives arguments just like you do. I think like the most recent argument I heard from Charlie Kirk is that why would he rape her if he is a billionaire with a supermodel wife and she's ugly? That's seriously an argument he's run. Are you sure that he's a good source of reason here? I'm not.
I mean, not
I'm
everyone-
not.
not
I'm
everyone's
not
always
super
right.
convinced that like Charlie Kirk is this intellectual titan that is a force that should be reckoned with and believed unilaterally without any type of pushback, rejection, or second thought.
No, I don't want to talk to him. I was just bringing him up from where I got all this stuff, but I want to know if I'm wrong on this rape case. I want you to tell me
for
the
sure.
facts.
Right.
I'm not here to.
I mean, the facts of the matter is that there was therapist notes from the 90s where she indicated that she was raped by Trump. The therapist notes aligned with her own testimony as well as the testimony of 7 others. Not to mention, she even had the dress that she claimed she was raped in by Donald Trump, and she claimed that Donald Trump's DNA was on it. So then the court took the dress. The court tested it for DNA. They found male DNA just like they said they would. And then they turned around and they were like, Donald Trump, okay,
Yes.
look at this dress. It has male DNA on it. She said it was yours. Would you be able to give us your DNA so we could test it against the DNA on the dress? And Donald Trump said no. Donald Trump said he wouldn't submit his DNA to the court. Donald Trump contested. He said, I have the legal right to reject giving you my DNA, so I'm not going to do it. That sounds like something a guilty man would do. Like, imagine that you are sober and you're pulled over by a cop when you're driving and they suspect you of a DUI and they say, all you got to do is blow in this breathalyzer. Would you do it?
I mean, if I'm sober, yeah, I'd do it.
Obviously, you prove your innocence, you continue on with your day. But now, if you actually are drunk driving and you get pulled over by a cop suspected of a DUI, are you going to be blown into that breathalyzer?
If I'm not sober, probably not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if Donald Trump is
Yeah.
innocent, he didn't rape E. Jean Carroll. It's not his DNA on the dress. The judge is like, give me your DNA. E. Jean Carroll says your DNA is on this dress from the day that you raped her. If you're innocent, okay, you're probably going to submit your DNA. If you're guilty, you're probably not going to submit your DNA. And so on top of all the evidence that I went over, I mean, this is a very compelling, this is a very compelling thing that Donald Trump did, in which I believe demonstrates his guilt.
Okay, yeah. You changed my mind on that. Like before I get off of this, I just want to say this. Like, I think a big problem with debates nowadays is that people don't debate to understand the truth. They debate to just beat the other person. You know what I mean? And
yeah, for sure, I do know.
Like I see it a lot. I've seen a few of your live streams. And I was only on here to talk about immigration because I didn't know your stance on it. But I don't know how I got on this rape case.
Yeah.
But
Well, Well, Zach,
I'll definitely do a lot
I,
more research
I
and look
appreciate you
into it.
for being significantly more open-minded than the average person I have up here.
Okay, well, I'm
Um,
not. I would rather. I want to know the truth. You know, not live a lie and be over here voting for someone who
yeah,
is doing crap like that.
and I think that that's very respectable of you.
Thank you.
I think that the seeds have been planted. Go do your own research, man. Good
Oh,
for you, and that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming up here with an open-minded attitude. I
real,
seriously do really appreciate that, Zach.
real quick though. This is one thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this on here, but could I understand your viewpoint on Christianity? 'Cause-
Well, sure. I'll give you a quick synopsis, and then I'm going to move on. But I'll
okay.
give you a quick synopsis because you just demonstrated an open-minded attitude. But I guess I'll just sum it up in a couple sentences. So my thoughts on Christianity are as follows. So first and foremost, I think that it's inherently faith-based belief. I don't think there's any evidence or reason to justify that Christianity is true. I mean, in fact, in the last couple of years of research, I think that there's more reason and more evidence to disprove and refute Christianity because I think that it's logically intelligible. But that aside, I don't care when people are Christian. In fact, I think for a lot of people, being Christian can be a really good thing, right?
Yes.
It could be a community builder. It could give your life a sense of purpose, a sense of reason. It could bring you closer to good virtues. It can make you a good person. There's a lot of good in Christianity, a fuck ton of good, right? And I'm gonna
Yeah.
be honest, a lot of people just simply need faith. Right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think if we could agree that it's an inherently faith-based belief that isn't rooted within any empirical reason in our lines of evidence, that it's something that should be kept to yourself and only yourself. And I don't think that using this inherently faith-based belief to infringe or superimpose your values onto the lives of others, especially when you're restricting them from doing particular things, such as accessing healthcare, that's when it goes from being something that can be good, a community builder that brings you closer to good virtues and gives your life a reason, a sense of purpose, into a weapon of hate and terror, right? So I think those are my thoughts. But yeah, I appreciate you for coming up, Zach, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, man. Once again, I appreciate you for your open-mindedness. Those are definitely good virtues. I think that you're on a good path.